it's funny. I'm like nervous, but not nervous, but I'm like excited, and I'm like, it's like sometimes you show up and you got nothing, and you're just kind of, it's like a blank canvas. Now I feel like I have too much, so it's like, I'm gonna really need you to like rein me in or keep me on the right track, because my brain is just gonna want to like.
You can never have too much for this show. No, I think this is gonna be perfect.
Never too much.
And yeah, we're just gonna go back to that one. No, I want to rein people in more too. I want to get people so hyped up that it's almost a problem on camera.
Yeah, like just moving,
right.
Just like in and out of frame, just so fucking excited. It's been so long.
I want to have like gaffer's tape on the lawn here to see where you can even go. Make sure you can like not get outside the perimeter.
And the boundaries. If you're out, yeah, right. It's like those VR setups. If you're out of the box, you're not in the game, right? So I'll get out of the box.
We should just transition to this whole thing being VR. I feel like then we could have like a quote-unquote third guest, which is really just the person in the VR game.
And we turn to look at them when we're actually looking at the camera and be really weird where we're nodding and smiling at them.
You know, I recently did write down that you were like my expert go-to person, you and Kai, when it comes to video game discussion.
Oh, yeah?
And whether or not video games are good or a bad thing.
Trying to put something out there. Trying to make it happen. Get it out there. Trying to put something out there. Trying to make it happen. Get it out there.
Matt, welcome to the 34th episode of The Never Ending Becoming. I just had to pull a fly out of my coffee.
You should just drink it. That's extra protein right there.
Off to a kick and start.
You know, video games, I vacillate on them because I love them. But I do know they're a time suck.
Well, if you love them enough, they will like drag you down to hell, won't they? That's kind of the thing.
It depends on how addicted you are. And there's certain games that I know that I'll stay away from. Like, I don't fuck with MMORPGs, massively multiplayer online games, like World of Warcraft.
You're also my acronym guy, by the way. It's not just video games. You're my acronym expert.
You know, it's just there's an addictive quality to video games, right? It pumps your endorphins up. I actually just got a new game right now, and I'm fully immersed in this game. It's called Ghost of Tsushima, and it is the last of the PS4 exclusive games, which they do. The PlayStation is like the single player, you know, storyline driven games. It's open world, and you're a samurai, which is just my
Metal Gear Solid would be my only one I could go along with.
Metal Gear Solid,
PlayStation exclusive. Is it still that way? Are they still exclusive on PlayStation? It's all over.
Not anymore. Yeah, wait, that's a little old. Anyways, but it's super immersive, and it sucks you in. It's a beautiful game, and you're in this historical journey, and it's just like. And slicing people with swords. It's great, tremendous.
Do you feel like you're learning, like it's like a historical venturing?
That's what I was going to get into.
When you're playing those type of storyline games?
Depending on the games, absolutely. Did you see what they did with Assassin's Creed Origins like 2 or 3 years ago?
No.
They made a...
I know enough about gaming to talk about like different versions of Madden and you know, some franchise-specific stuff here and there.
Sure.
But I'm really out of the loop.
I had a big discussion with my parents about PlayStation 5 because my mom really wants to get one for some reason.
How is that possible? Your mom wants one?
She really wants to get one, like super bad, and I'm like yeah, because it's gonna be a cool piece of technology, like either way.
This is fucked up because like I don't even know anything tech-wise that's on the PS5. Like I don't know if they're gonna have 8K or like what the draws.
Yeah, right. There's it's like the 4K, right? It's got, you know, I can't remember. I don't know the actual specs for the thing, but there's 2 versions now. They're having like one that's like physical copy where you have a CD dispenser, and then there's another one that's like digital only that's just plugged into the wireless with like a giant terabyte of space, and you just download games onto that.
Do they have that whole reverse compatible thing where you could throw PS2 discs in the...
Some games are doing that with. I know Xbox was trying to work that out, and some of them are doing like, hey, if you got a game at the end of the cycle of the last system, you know, it'll work, or we'll get you a copy on the next round. So people that got like, you know, Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima just right now, and you know, in the end of the year, it's going to come out looking even better. They're giving the upgrade to people.
If you bought Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, we'll take a 1080p YouTube video of it. Just watching it one time. So watching someone play the game once, and then we'll release that as downloadable content on the PlayStation 5. Why does your mom want though? Is there a game that got her?
Well, no. Specifically,
she's a whole nother demo.
She is right. Her reasoning is more because the winter is going to be a little bit more. Shall we say, indoors this winter, even more so due to COVID. Yeah. So she's kind of planning for like the family to do a lot of indoor stuff. So
your mom does have a lot of young men to keep calm and to satiate. So I could see that. Like a lot of times the PS is less about what it does for you, more about what it does to your household, right?
Right, and how people can be like, okay, well, we could just go hang out downstairs, like having things to do. You know, she wants to get like a pinball machine and like some slot machines and just like fun activities in the basement to like, you know, just like how we go to grandma's, you know, because we won't be able to go places if this another, I won't even say second, third or fourth, whatever wave this is going to be.
It's actually a ninth wave at this point. Technically the ninth wave.
Ninth wave of Corona. That's going to be horrible.
We should mention when we're doing this, beginning of September. We're actually in sort of a new month here, new era in a way, in a feeling, because a lot of people going back to school at this point.
It was we had a big summer break, basically, right? It was
we
a big
did.
Summer break.
Yeah, me and you specifically, because we hadn't podcasted since the 30th episode, if you can even call that a full podcasting session.
It was more of a, I don't even know what I would call it, a moment in time, a brief moment in time, right?
Yeah.
Real quick, though, I just want to go back to educational video games really quick, because I think it's cool.
Please. I'm going to check something.
Assassin's Creed did this really cool thing where they went to Egypt, and they had the game set in Egypt. So it was, they basically recreated like Alexandria and big chunks of Egypt. So there was a mode in the game where it wasn't about killing. You would just go to these monuments, and they would like, archaeologists would like narrate to you while you did like virtual tours. Like you'd go to the Pyramid of Giza, and they would be like, okay, so in the Pyramid of Giza at this age, so you get to like see and like go through in this current time period.
Wait, this is 100% then like historical walkthroughs.
That was. And
do you know anyone who's been to Egypt?
I did. Yeah, I used to have a friend. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but yeah, he was a Persian fellow, and he'd been to the Middle East a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay, I knew one guy in college. I think he was Egyptian though, but so I don't know if he was like tapping into some like motherland type stuff. But with all the fanfare around the pyramids around Egypt, I don't know a lot of people that have been there.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is that about to you? I mean, obviously you through Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, I've climbed the pyramids. I've spelunked the pyramids. I've
numerous occasions.
But not even just that game. So many games have been to the pyramids.
But do you think that's one of those games they picked that specifically because it has a lot of interest, but people like they're just not able to go there? It's difficult infrastructure. Is there something about Egypt? Like is it the airline flights?
Specifically, I think that there is. If talking video games, Assassin's Creed loves and has gone through different historical eras. That's the whole point of the game. It's like assassins through the ages, right? But I think specifically Egypt.
You mean like Reagan, Clinton, and Bush? Or?
Yeah, assassins through the ages. McKinley, Lincoln, attempted Reagan. No, it's more like, it started in like the early Middle East BC, and then it kind of jumps up through time, and then there's like this whole Italian era, and then they do like the French Revolution, and each time you get like a chunk of, history, and of course it's not real history, right? But there's nuggets where they'll have historical figures. What is it? Assassin's Creed 3 takes place during the Revolution, and you talk to like Abraham Lincoln and the forefathers of the Revolution, and it's like you're taking place in these battles, and it's like there is some historical,
well now
feel to it.
Girlfriend Siobhan, her dad in Nepal, they just had another shutdown, unfortunately, just like us, right? But I guess he had done some of this where he was going on Google Maps and just visiting different places in the world.
Been there, super cool.
Like he was, we talked about VR at the beginning of this. Like I remember with Kai, our cousin, that's one of the first VR things I did was all of a sudden they throw you on top of a mountainside.
And you're just in the freaking, oh man.
Yeah. I wanted to be in King Tut's Pyramid myself, but
Well, you can. They do some locations like where you can go in Google Earth, like, go into Buckingham Palace, and it's a virtual tour of Buckingham Palace or something like that. But yeah, I definitely, those are the two, there was actually two. It was Google Earth, where you're on a mountain and you just like, holy crap, and you're messing with the world, or you throw it really far and you start to spin it and then you just suck through it in. But I was playing Skyrim. He had me play Skyrim, which is like completely fanciful. And I was trying to explain this to my dad when we were talking about it. When you like put the goggles on and you're in this giant fucking like dwarven cavern, and you hear the water and the leaking water, and you're just like, and you look in your hand and you have a sword and you're like, holy shit, like I'm in the game.
Dwarven cavern and spelunking so far. You're dropping some sick cave knowledge here so far. Sick cave vocabulary.
This is my sick cave vocabulary. I wish I had one more. My carabiners. I don't know. It's climbing.
I used to love how they would have like those surging games. Like when I first got the Nintendo Wii, you could like cut people up. It was like some trauma center type game.
Man,
yep. You could do like a 21st century version of the game Operation. You're trying not to hit the metal on the outside, trying to keep a steady hand.
Nintendo's always been super cool with stuff like that, where they like kind of push the boundaries, like Wii, or it was the DS. I remember it was a surgical thing, and you'd have the dual screen, and they'd be like, oh no, his appendix is bursting. And I remember doing like slicing and trying to cut off his appendix, and yeah.
Do you think we could collaborate on this, like come up with a game where we're somehow training the American workforce that isn't at work right now?
Jesus.
We could somehow.
That would be interesting. I mean, that the world is becoming more gamified.
When you apply on Amazon.com, there's actually a game you play where you're sorting on like a virtual shelf. by like weight and by item type.
Yeah.
They have like colors and they have different weights, and you basically just have to take like a 3x3 grid and you have to place the items in their designated location.
See, isn't this fun for $15 an hour? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know. They should have had some Pokemon Go AR integration.
Yeah, man,
I think
come on.
You got to start with something that's
gamify
already popular.
your job. They should just gamify the system. So it's like, sure, you get paid, but you also get bonus points. And then,
well, I need to gamify the podcast first.
Oh, yeah. Let's focus on the things that matter.
Get the vibrating bracelets. Anytime we go off topic, it buzzes us. Yeah.
We should get shock collars for that. You can have a wrist thing. I'll get the shock collar. Yeah, no, you know, it'd be interesting. How would you gamify this? You know, a drinking game. You could drinking game.
Oh, to get through the corona, or yeah?
Training a workforce in America, I don't know how. That's thinking about retraining is such a weird. That's a.
You know, I don't even care if it's like a common job. I want to come up with some sort of like workforce training game, maybe for writing speculative scripts for Netflix shows, something like that. Like, we're gonna lead the world in creativity.
Just churning it out. We'll just make them a Mad Lib, and they'll just fill in the Mad Lib. You know, and then you have to have a topic. Is this like a crazy sci-fi show? Is this a murder mystery documentary? Is this, you know, a comedy series we're gonna do 2.5 seasons of?
How about Bad Lib, where we do like two fake conservatives who are filling in like obvious adjectives and verbs you could use for what you consider to be liberals to be like.
Oh, I was going to start going America, freedom, radical left.
The radical left.
Socialism.
Want our country to be blank.
Socialist. Venezuela.
Want our country to be Venezuela.
Venezuela. Stalin. Communist Russia.
Sure.
Communist Russia.
I'm going to have to give you more than one prompt here. You're spitting them off. No problem.
Oh, my God.
No problem at all.
Being part of the radical left, I know my terms, right? Being part of the radical left.
We have a lot to talk about today. We had discussed when we were off just the whole summer break. I was up in northern Wisconsin, Purple State.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You took a drove across the country yourself. You were over in New York.
Which is a blue state, but I was in a very red area, which is fine.
But that's interesting.
Absolutely.
You kind of take that for granted. You think New York, Cuomo, blue.
Oh yeah.
It's part of their base,
yeah.
right? But you were in territory where it felt at least more purple.
Absolutely.
If not straight up red.
A lot more opinions.
But yeah, you also, for the first time, Matt, I gotta tell you had a little list of things we could have talked about too. So I feel like,
listen, you're not supposed to bring it up, the list. But yeah, no, I did a list. Okay, so
I mean, you etched it in your skin. On his left thigh, you actually had this all.
Well, when you go for a month and the current climate we're in, there's just things happening. Just too much things. There's just too much things.
Inhospitable climate.
And just the amount of information and just shit thrown at you constantly, and just news and this, that, and that, and everything's worth talking about to some degree. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and almost too sometimes for me, it's like if I don't talk about it, I'm gonna forget about it. And there's just so much stuff that
you're not gonna forget about Harris Biden in 2020. I mean, come on,
Christ, no.
Harris Biden 2020. Your namesake too.
I know. That's what I posted. I was like, oh my God, Harris is gonna be in the White House, guys.
No relation.
And no relation. But and then I got a couple of laughs, a couple of LOLs on that one. But
come on, something.
It's pretty crazy.
I just want to start with this for some reason. Have you seen any graphics or imagery for the Harris Biden typography, or like the plates, the graphics, either online, maybe yard signs?
I did.
I just saw one like, I'm biking with Biden in the area.
I did, but I don't recall. It doesn't like stick out for me. Like, I remember Hillary's H with the arrow. Right. Obama had the O with the American flag pattern.
No, nothing's sticking for me either, and that's kind of why I'm asking to see if
the branding isn't there for me right now.
Yeah, screwed the pooch in terms of their imagery, or if maybe they just haven't had enough time to inundate us with the.
I'm sure it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they don't necessarily have to. I feel like it's not.
So you drove across the country. I saw a shit ton, and this doesn't bring me any pleasure to say this, by the way, but I saw a shit ton of Trump-Pence signs on the way to Eagle River.
Yeah,
northern Wisconsin, where I go, and I'm talking, at least 9, 10 to just 1 or 2 Biden. Wow. So in terms of a purple state, it was looking very aggressive for Trump. Yeah. However, I have a theory that I think the Trump trolls are the bigger assholes in terms of putting up gigantic signs. on their own dime in their own yard.
Yeah, and I think if you are around people, it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? It's like they, you have your own communities, and you kind of, you see other people do it, so it's like, hey, let's go, right? So
I think the Trump trolls encourage one another, no doubt.
Absolutely.
The bright red hats.
Absolutely.
But what kind of signage did you see driving east?
You know what? I didn't see much of that because it's really just a highway drive, but I saw so many religious billboards, in these rural areas.
Abortion?
Yeah, anti-abortion. Are you going to heaven or hell? Do you need help? Call 1-800 God loves you. Just like all of these things in a lot of these like rural cutoff areas. I did see a couple of pro Trump signs and stuff like that. I didn't see any pro Biden.
No pro Biden.
I didn't really see any Biden stuff.
God damn it! So it's not just the typography.
I don't think so, man.
It might be the movement, man. We gotta figure this out.
It's the most. Well, I was just listening, and it's just the most unenthusiastic movement, right? It's not because we're with Biden and Kamala Harris because like they're our guys. It's just like they're our choice because of the other choice, right?
A lot of people have been like shit talking by using that, saying like, "Oh, name me one good reason why you're voting for Biden that doesn't have to do with Trump. That doesn't have to do with how much Trump sucks," which is ridiculous because I think there are many good reasons to vote for Biden.
Absolutely.
He was, in a way, voted in with Obama for 8 years, and people obviously, still sing the praises of that administration to some degree. If you're forgetting about Guantanamo and other elements of his drone bombings.
Jesus, but that even then in of itself, we can admit that there was things that happened. Yeah,
is by and large going to be a step forward in terms of what Trump is bringing to the table.
Just as far as organizationally, a guy that's been in major government positions most of his life will know how to dictate and manage government effectively, which Trump can't do it. Right. Trump cannot govern effectively. The way he governs and the way he uses his executive powers like he does at Trump-Borg, it doesn't work for government because you need institutional knowledge to keep your infrastructure and your policies flowing. When you're constantly rotating everybody out, it's complete disorganization. Yeah,
and to my understanding, a lot of power has been pushed to the executive orders, the executive branch since the Patriot Act.
Oh.
And I would imagine a lot of long-term change in Washington has to do with relationships and not just one administration, but maybe something that's actually going to make it in terms of policy and something that will reverberate out throughout more than, a quarter, half a generation, right?
I think you're 100% correct when you started with the Patriot Act. I think that changed just how people, it's changed everything. How laws are passed. Look at what laws have Congress passed besides like stimulus packages and like bailouts?
$5-6 trillion worth of stimulus money.
But it's like I don't see any like big bills. Say what you want about Obama, but like he passed like the Affordable Care Act, right? He was trying to do something for people, right? It wasn't like let's cut restrictions for giant corporations to give more money to let's help people in some way, right? And of course that got sidetracked.
They do make the argument that it ends up being the people that get better jobs, right, and the people that have more opportunities. I'm not saying I believe in that.
Yeah, right.
But they do draw the line to people. It's just kind of a tenuous line.
Yeah, right. It's a very tenuous thin thread.
No, a lot of people are definitely voting against their interests. The insurance one is an amazing example of that.
It's just incredible. That's it. A lot of it too is how many people are just gonna blindly vote against their interests. Again, back to owning the libs, right? You got to own the libs. Like you said, so much of it is just straight trolling. It's just straight trolling. Yeah. That like,
for any conservative people that may be watching this show, the best way, in my opinion, Matt's opinion too, I'm just going to go ahead and say this.
Probably.
To own the libs is actually to vote for Biden. Get him in office.
Jesus.
You think Biden's so incompetent? Let's see what he's got. Wow. Think of the conservative memes that would be coming out for years.
I would feel very owned.
It would.
I would feel very owned if you did that, guys.
Do you take it? Do you believe that Trump has set Republicans back at all?
I don't know.
I don't think he has.
No,
because it's totally turned to Trumpism.
Yeah,
it's not even like he's a Republican anymore.
It depends.
It's just full cult of personality Trumpism. So I think by the time he's done routing whatever success our country has had, it's just going to be where the Republicans can kind of come in with a new candidate, a new name, and just sort of be like, oh, that bullshit was Trump, and they can just totally rebrand, which is to me it's horrible,
right?
Because then they can kind of, I think, just shake off the negative momentum,
continue to rewrite history like they like to do.
Yeah.
They're
great at that. Republicans are great at that.
Completely reframing and just completely just changing history to suit their whims. Like they're you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. But it seems like that's not true anymore. You know, you could just turn a fact on its head, and it's like alternative facts. You know, it's just crazy to me. It goes back to like we talked about the thing with, you know, you can have a fact, but it could be interpreted 2 different ways, right? Many different ways, right? I don't know. I think that it's going to be very hard. It depends. If he wins again, that's the Republican Party, right? That's what they're riding this till the wheels fall off. If he loses, it's going to be very interesting because, you know, you have the Lincoln Project and you have Republicans who are actively fighting against Trump, which I don't think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like many Democrats banding together to go against, you know, like I didn't see Democrats for Bush. I didn't see Democrats for John McCain. You know, I've never seen, but now I'm seeing giant swaths of Republicans.
It's interesting.
Smart think tank people.
Yeah.
That think he's egregious, right?
The scariest thing I saw in terms of billboards was Donald Trump 2020, Don Jr. 2024.
That's like, what I saw too.
Dear Lord.
That's what I saw too.
Dear Lord.
It was a guy's. I think it was a Daily Show clip actually, and I can't remember his name, but the correspondent he goes to the rallies, and he just, you know, hits them back with their own logic, and they're like, you know, it's hilarious. One of the people had the shirt, and it had like, you know, it was like Trump, Don Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka, you know, and had Barron at the bottom, right?
I can't believe Ivanka made it below Eric.
Right, but you know, because they're you know, you got to do the men first, and then women wait their turn, and then women can go. You got to let the men do it first. But you know, we
they
like
put
Ivanka.
Like parentheses Barron above.
Yeah, like, but somebody
based on
out,
age, based on terms of Eric Trump, based on.
One of the numbers was wrong though. It would like the number of the things was wrong, and it looked like Trump lost an election, and that. Don got, so the guy's like, oh, it looks like you missed a number there. He's like, what? You know, misprint, which is typical, which is exactly typical.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's funny you bring up the shirt at one of those Trump rallies because those things, you know, just glorified rock concerts. So you got to have good merch.
Would you ever want to go to a Trump rally?
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I want to fucking rip that off for Democrats. You know, you have to stare at what you're against. Not that I'm just fully against Trump rallies, even though I mean I think if you take based on content and personalities involved,
yeah, right.
I'm very much against that. But you have to steal their tricks. You know, I don't know what he's doing. If Trump is, you know, singing a Leonard Skinner song to close it out, and people are putting their iPhones up, and you know, there's the Make America Great Again app that they have to get out, which geotags them to a certain location, which is used for data analytics. I don't know what the games are, but I know they're playing a bunch of those motherfucking games.
Oh man,
they're definitely playing some of those games.
Oh man, I have so much to respond to there. I think that there is I think the Republicans play a smart game where they don't talk about their strategies sometimes because I think they do a lot of nefarious things like that with data. Yeah. And you found that out with like Cambridge Analytica and all that stuff. So yeah. I do think there's tracking involved. But I think too, you are dealing with like, I don't know, I hate to talk about like people's intelligence and being like lowest common denominator and like all that kind of stuff. Like the people that will show up maskless to a Trump rally to listen to like, you know, Bob Seger jamming, and he comes out to like, you know, Rockin' in the Free World and shit like that.
We're gonna need to snag some of that right-leaning troll vote though. What's our Bob Seger Rockin' in the Free World? What's it gonna be?
It's funny though. All those people hate when he plays their music, right? All those musicians can't fucking stand him, right? He's like Neil. What is it? Neil Young was like, I'm gonna sue you for continuing to play my music, right? I don't want you to play my music anymore.
And if you do play it, you have to at least use audiophilic levels of music quality. I can't stand the MP3s they're playing over these loudspeakers.
It's so the quality. It's the quality. You know, you're right. You know, and that's why Andrew Yang, man, I love that dude. You know, he was very smart about that. Like, you're not gonna win if you go all the way left. You gotta get some of those people that voted for him and figure out why they voted for him.
I have a lot of respect for Yang
and bring them our way.
Specifically, the movement he built too. You know, from someone who didn't have any name brand recognition, name recognition, which ends up being a brand, and he was able to get, you know, generally people of different ages, but young people and forward-thinking tech people, right?
We're talking about UBI because of him. I mean, I will attribute that to him, man. I will firmly attribute that to him.
What percentage does he get? What percentage does Joe Rogan get on that one? Seriously, have you heard? Did you hear about UBI before he was on Joe Rogan or no?
Yeah, no, I'd followed him before he was on Joe Rogan, right? And
no shit, I didn't.
Yeah, I followed
that's when he entered the zeitgeist for me. Like,
he had a subreddit, and I was following a lot of the early candidates, and it was like gang, and he was saying some interesting stuff, and I didn't know who he was, so I was like, oh, who's this person that a lot of young people are interested interested in that's not Bernie Sanders, right? What's his angle? Oh, universal basic income. That's cool. Like, I like that. And then when he started talking so much about automation, which again, like, forward thinking, you know, it's like, you know, we're going to lose jobs to automation. That's a fact. That's going to happen. So why are we talking about the past when we need to focus on where we as society are moving forward and going future to protect us from this coming, you know, job-apocalypse, right? You know,
there won't be a job-apocalypse if we can get some of that training software going.
Yeah, right,
you know,
right.
If we can get people...
We need button pushers, like in the Jetsons, right? Where, you know, he just pushes the button, right? We just need to employ one person.
Was that his job in the Jetsons, George Jetson?
Yeah, George Jetson's job, he's the button pusher. He pushes buttons for Spacely Sprockets.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, that's what he does. He's got, so in like the movie, he hurts his finger and like, he doesn't know what to do because he hurts his finger. It's like, boop, boop, boop. He can't press the button. It's hilarious, but that's his job.
You could probably do that now with like carpal tunnel and like your thumbs or whatever. Like that could probably still play.
Hey man, totally
video
games, you got to watch the video games. Carpal tunnel video games. But yeah, it's like...
Have you heard if Biden's going to be in Fortnite or anything? Are they going to be using any of that shit to get people going?
God. They'll just make an old man, call him Sleepy Joe, and it's Biden.
Dude, is there a conservative video game? Is there a Republican video game?
I
Come on,
think
there's got to be something.
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't say that maybe it's not conservative video games, but maybe you have like conservatives flocking to a specific title and they play like that specific game. Off the top of my head, I can't think about it.
Okay, how about this? Is there a troll video game? Because I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, there's nothing I can really think of.
A game that dickheads play?
Yeah, Fortnite. Fortnite, you know, like, but I think that's not dickheads, that's kids, and it's free to play, so a lot of people play that game, you know. I will say, though, that there is a conservative movement called Gamergate, which is super interesting, which is like a lot of like, you know, it's like anything where like a bunch of dudes who think video games are only for dudes and men, and are upset when, you know, women who also like play video games want to be represented in video games, that they yell that it's about forced representation. And, you know, like, I don't know if The Last of Us 2 came out. The Last of Us was another PS4 exclusive game, which was like this post-apocalyptic game where a father and his daughter, I can't remember if it's his daughter, but they kind of go around and it's like a zombie apocalypse. Tremendous game, great atmosphere, super fun and hard. But you feel stuff for the characters.
And it's The Last of Us, not The Last of Them. Right, yeah. So it's not inclusive.
Right, it's The Last of Us. Well, the second one came out, and they changed it, and it's like, I think, and I'm going to misconstrue it, like the main character who's the girl grown up, she's like mean, and she's an asshole, and she's like in love with this other like trans woman or something, and the trans woman's like really muscular and big, and she's kind of like the hero protagonist, and people didn't like that it was like not about men or something. It was like women and this weird, like they were trying to shoehorn in like these feelings, and the main character, she kills a dog, and it's just people didn't like the way their characters were portrayed.
Yeah, you can't fuck with Fido. I've learned that. You can do a lot of things.
John Wick?
You cannot fuck with Fido. Yeah, basically.
You know, in a nutshell, though, I feel like it's just people who...
I asked you the conservative one. You know, from the sound of this, you might have a better answer for a liberal. Is there a liberal game?
There's every game is liberal games, I feel like. Overwatch I feel like is a very liberal game.
What makes it a liberal game?
I think why do liberals play?
No, but what makes you say
I would say it's inclusive. I would say it's inclusive.
Diversity of cast diversity of storyline.
I think they do such a great job. I played Overwatch forever, but like as far as like releasing new characters, like they released the first like 5 or 6 characters. This is about women.
Okay, so it's not about the government watching over you at all times? This game, it's like
sort
a liberal dream, a big brother government watching over every move you make.
The socialist agenda of superheroes and, you know, this propaganda movement, they take over and they just do everything, and the government pays for it, and then Overwatch just sprinkles money over everyone as they watch over you.
Watches over your taxable income to ensure that services can be rendered.
They have a large cast of characters, and a lot of women, a lot of like just different people from different cultures. You know, they had like I can't remember the first character. She was Egyptian. The first character was a girl named Anna, and she was Egyptian. The second character was a Mexican girl named Sombra.
God, I hope the Egyptians are getting some of this video game money. This is fucking ridiculous.
Crazy, right? And one of the things is Numbani, or it's called not Numbani. It's
Namibia.
Anubis, Temple of Anubis, and you see the pyramids in the background, and it's in this futuristic city, but the temple's still in the city, and it's really cool. But they do a really good job, and then they do music, and they go to actually these places and sample music. And
okay, here we go. That's why all games are liberal. They have music and shit in them. You know what I mean? They're multimedia. Because conservative mediums, I would imagine, well, it doesn't seem from what we were saying earlier with the Trump rally music, it's not just Bob Seger, right? The conservatives aren't known for their robust soundtracks.
Right. But see, I think inherently, though, when you play
it's too artsy. Yeah. Video games as like a medium, it's too artsy for conservatives. It doesn't
work for conservatives. You have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and live somebody else's life for a minute and, like, understand sometimes what they're feeling, right? Like, and I'm not talking like Mario. You don't need to feel what the plumber jumps like when he crushes the mushroom. But when you're playing like a game like, Grand Theft Auto, right? And like back in San Andreas, right? This was when I was in high school, and I was in a gang in San Andreas, and that's not not a great example, but like,
yeah, they should have put Mario in a union. If they're gonna have any sort of group affiliation. I put myself in somebody's
different shoes, and it was like I'm experiencing different things, like different. And it's a video game, so it's not real. And it's not like, sight for sight or, complete representation, but it's, it's a simulation.
It's funny you bring up Grand Theft Auto because that's definitely been probably the biggest franchise in the last 20 years, hasn't it? One of the biggest ones in the last 20 years.
It's been incredibly big, and then after this last one, it's just they focus exclusively online, and they've made billions online.
Everyone plays it though. A lot of young people play it, and there's got to be some sort of like Republican Law and Order shit where people are like, I tell you, I played Grand Theft Auto. We cannot have it be like that on the streets. I tell you, we need Trump out there cracking down on crime to make sure that everyone's not like me in San Andreas, or everyone's just like me.
It's funny you mention that.
I'm just trying to think of ways in which we can start to use video games to program people to be liberals. Because why are all these liberals playing games, but then like it's not going anywhere? Trump's gonna end up on Fortnite. I'm calling it right now. It's gonna end up happening.
So yeah, right. That'd be like again, like just have they should do
Pence,
that. Like
they're gonna have Pence up on there.
Presidential candidates, one's like kind of like a blobbish orange-haired guy, and one's like a sleepy old man, and they'll have them go at it. Hillary Clinton though, just FYI, she went after Grand Theft Auto during San Andreas. Somebody released a mod. Somebody like went into the game files and found that there was a sex mini game that they never released. And it was called the Hot Coffee mod, and it came out. And
I think I've heard of
CJ
this.
Would be able to go to these rooms, and he'd press buttons, and they'd be like, they'd flip the legs, and it'd be like super square pixelated boobs, right? And she specifically, as a senator, I think, went after the game and was like, we need to ban these games. This is completely unacceptable, irregardless of the fact that it wasn't.
No, you're helping me out though. You're connecting, so people do maybe love video games, specific franchise like Grand Theft Auto. And then the policy is coming out against those games.
Yes, that's happening what happened forever
with music in the '80s, right?
That's what happened with comic books back in the '50s.
Label. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's any sort of culture that kids really like that starts to like infect their brain. The old heads start to freak out about it. You see that throughout history. You got comic books. You got music in the '60s. You have video games in the '80s and '90s. Now you're having TikTok, YouTube and all this stuff, this new technology where adults don't really understand it, so they're trying to figure out how to lock it down, right?
Yeah.
You see that throughout history, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, we're starting to draw a closer connection to how there could be so many of these gamers, but they're getting pissed off for some reason.
So back to that. Okay, I think truly, too, I don't think liberals feel as under attack as conservatives do. And I think that's just across the board. I think conservatives have done a great job of making them seem always like they're the victim, and they're always under the attack. Like they're the vocal majority or the silent majority, right? Like we're all quiet. In reality, though, they're the vocal minority, right? They are the vocal minority. They're not the silent majority. They're very loud, and there's a small group of them, right?
The framing of it all.
That's what I'm saying. That they're so good at framing everything. Even the terms liberal versus conservative, right? You want to conserve things. You don't want to be liberal. You don't want to just give things away, right?
Wealth tax, inheritance tax versus death tax.
Death tax, right? They were talking about that. They changed the name of the estate tax to death tax. So people are like, oh, death tax. But it doesn't affect you. You don't have generational wealth and billions of dollars that you're worried about,
Yeah.
At most people will have, $100,000, maybe a couple $1 million. If they're fucking lucky, right? The idea that like mom and pops are going to care about generational wealth. It's all framing. It's all fucking framing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these conservatives feel like they're under attack, and you can see that now with the protesting.
Everyone feels like they're under attack. That's really, it's ridiculous. No matter what side you're on, you're definitely getting those narratives that like you are being attacked. It's time to go on the offensive because you have been put on the defensive, right?
And it's interesting too because going back to that, conservatives love guns. They love authority. They love all this stuff, right? But at the same time, you can't take my guns, and we're gonna stop these jackbooted government thugs from marching in the street. Well, unless they're going after black people, then it's fine. Then I'm gonna stand back and protect the jackbooted thugs, right? It seems so counterintuitive to me. You know, the Republicans have done such a great job of like framing this authoritarian fascism as like this like American freedom. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You know, did you watch any of the RNC, Republican National Convention?
I watched very little of it because.
Did you watch any of the DNC?
I watched very little of both. I watched very little of both.
What medium did you use to soak up some highlights?
I did watch some on TV. I was in New York when it happened, so I did watch some of it on TV. The Republican stuff. I got some of it, like I watched a lot of clips. I watched like some people's speeches. I watched parts of some people's speeches. I don't really want to subject myself to like a full Republican National Convention or Democratic National Convention for that matter, because both will infuriate me to no end. Because just like the casual lying and the casual posturing, you know, I'm just like, I just can't do it, right?
Yeah, the RNC was totally trying to rewrite history,
completely.
Making it seem like their coronavirus response
completely.
Was, rooted in one thing. I just saw, like, the opening where Don Trump Jr. was talking. Hilarious.
Sweaty, coked out Don Jr.?
You know, I just saw that billboard right before I saw him give his, like, intro on the RNC. He's terrible. He is not nearly as eloquent and as smooth in terms of his
Do you know they
word
love
delivery.
him, though? Do you know they, like, conservatives, he sells out.
He totally does, but he does not scare me nearly as much as Don does.
No, he's not as talented. He's not nearly as talented.
And he's definitely just doing, some shadow of what Trump was doing in terms of like whipping up fanfare.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, where would he be without his dad?
Nowhere.
Which you could say maybe the same thing about Trump with
absolutely.
Fred Trump.
Did you? Oh, that's a whole other side trip.
But they always say it's the third generation that ruins things. Fingers crossed.
Shit, wait, am I third generation? Fuck, wait, no. I did watch his girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle. I thought she was very interesting.
Whose girlfriend is that? Don Trump Jr.?
Don Trump Jr.'s girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle. She used to be married to Gavin Newsom. And then she divorced Gavin Newsom. And then she went on Fox News and became a...
Got a bee on my face.
There she is right there. That's her right there.
Just gotta stay calm and it won't bite me. Get the fuck out of here.
Everyone's gotten stung this year.
But Newsom, I got stung twice by wasps.
Yeah, I got stung. Have never been stung in like 20, 30 years, and I just got stung this year. So did my daughter, so did my fiance.
See, this is why I'm not accepting the liberal lie. I've been bitten by bees at a great biblical level this year, in which case I'm going to be... No,
the rapture of these bees.
I was told the bees are dying. I was told the birds are dying. Now we're both getting stung.
Bees. Well, they're angry now. They're all dying, so they're fucking... We're going to take some of these... They're hoping we all have allergies, so they're trying to take a few of us with them.
It's just that they're getting more aggressive because they're running out of options.
Yeah, right.
Like, you got some nectar? What's the story?
Fuck, he's got any pollen on this motherfucker? You know? Kimberly Guilfoyle, she is Donald Trump's paramour. She was with Gavin Newsom. She was the first lady of California for a time.
I did not know this.
And now
her name is familiar.
She is now one of Trump's biggest like fundraisers, you know.
Do you think she does those California wine cave things that Pete Buttigieg was doing?
But she's the wine cave. Apparently, though, she's completely mismanaging the fundraising and money's disappearing and all that stuff.
Nice.
But like typical Trump, there's just so much of that. It's just like, okay, it's fine.
You know, that's part of that third generation ruining everything. It's not just the third generation within the family that ruins everything. It's all the like gold digging spouses and untalented suckers that like come along for the ride.
To be fair, though, that's one thing Trump does brilliantly. Is he cuts the people out constantly. So there's only a core group of people that he really, you know, it's Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric Trump. He's got those dudes at Trump Org that they just went after recently. You know, he has a core group of people. One of them was, I guess, the CEO of Trump Org was a former bodyguard of his that like knocked somebody out for him on stage, like somebody, and then he promoted him and he kept promoting him. So he likes to promote people from within his like organization. So everyone's super loyal. And then you cut him out and I don't know this guy, right? Michael Cohen. I don't know Michael Cohen. Where that crow goes, right? But he just whittles it down so that there's not so many gold diggers and he's in control of his little sphere. That's why there's so many unfulfilled positions because he can't control them, right?
Yeah. I do hope that the deep state or whatever you want to call it, the breadth of government is large enough so that even if he does have like autocratic sycophants, you know, under his wing, that he's not going to be able to fill as many positions as he needs. You know, that he's not going to be able, like in Venezuela you mentioned earlier, he's not going to have enough oil money to spread out to crooked generals and whatnot to keep him in a position of power.
The problem that I see with that, though, and that this is a topic that really bothers me, is the institutional knowledge that's leaving the government. Because you saw with the Ukraine thing, you have these like career diplomats, you know, Maria Abramovich, I can't pronounce her name, Abramovich, you saw Colonel Vindman, you know, all these people that were like really good at their jobs, right? They're really good at their jobs. And, you know, it's like they're not going to work in those jobs anymore, right? Like, and they're not going to come back to those jobs. So who is going to replace all of their knowledge? Back. Well, Vindman said he's not, and Abramovich retired, right? And
but people come in and out at different. I'm just trying to be hopeful. I'm not trying to be
devil's
like
advocate. I know.
Yeah. No, I think people do like leave those types of jobs, go into the private industry, come back to public service again.
Which is why it's one thing about
lobbying
Biden I'm excited about. Sorry. Yeah, right. Lobbying and back and forth, which we should get rid of that. I don't think you should become a lobbyist right away. You know what I mean? You muddy the waters with that.
We shouldn't talk about Trump and Biden the entire time. But
I want to know
like
so much.
We're at the very beginning of September here, and it's going to get real. You know, within a matter of 2 months, straight up.
It's like under what, like 80 days, 70 days, or something
close. Like that. Gut reaction: who's going to win, Biden or Trump? Gut.
I don't know.
Gut. Same name.
I don't want to.
Same name.
I don't want to. How's that?
Trump's going to win.
I don't want to.
I think Trump's going to win. Are you agreeing, or are you saying Biden's going to win? Biden's still up in the polls.
I'm going to say Biden wins because I'm putting on the universe that Biden's going to win because I put it onto the universe that Trump is going to win last time, and that fucked me real bad. So you know what? I'm going to say it's Biden. Biden 2020. That sleepy old bastard's going to fucking dodder his way into the White House, and you know what? He's going to do a better job than Trump, half asleep. That's what I fucking think.
I love it, dude. No, that's for real. I like that.
He's going to do a better job half asleep, and everyone's going to be like, what? How is he? Because he's going to have the people around him who are going to make the smart decisions.
Sleepy basement Biden is going to do better than Trump could, no matter how many amphetamines and golf swings that Trump has taken in the White House, right?
He's got too many good relationships. Like, nobody says anything bad about Biden, which I think is ridiculous. Even Lindsey Graham. Even there's a whole ad that came out with Lindsey Graham just being like, Biden is just the greatest man I'd ever met in my life. I just love him. I just love him to death. He is just a real gem. And then it cuts to him being like, the radical left.
One last thing I want to ask you specifically about this race, about Biden, is actually people's reluctance to talk shit about Biden. Because I've had discussions with like liberal friends.
I'll talk shit all day.
And we're shooting the shit here. We're saying he's sleepy Biden. We're using some of the right-leaning terminology.
Yeah.
And I think you need to do that.
Fuck yes.
Just like you need to go to the Trump rally to break it down, to see what you're up against, whatever. I think you need to admit that Biden has that sleepiness to him.
Yeah.
That you're not ignoring, that you're actually taking as part of his candidacy, and you're okay with the fact that...
Come on, man. I want to hear that. I want to hear that all day.
He's not just going to be shooting from the hip saying crazy shit like Trump. Like, yeah, he's actually more measured in what he says, and he actually, in theory, might be processing things with more political experience.
Absolutely.
Right?
The people around him are going to help him with his messaging. He's not going to just fucking spout off on Twitter and make people... I'm fired today. I'm hired today. What's happening today? You know, spreading misinformation. You know.
But do you feel comfortable talking any shit about Biden? Like,
yeah, I talk comfortable talking shit about Obama.
Everyone should. And same here.
That's what I'm saying. You know, if you cannot talk shit about the person you like in office, then you are delusional.
You lose your legitimacy too.
Yes.
No one wants to listen to you.
100%.
Because then you're clearly just pushing one side too hard.
100%.
Okay. Good.
That's yeah, absolutely.
Plus, we're in a podcast medium here, so if we can't talk shit about both sides, then
come on,
half the material.
That's you're missing half of it, right?
This would be a half-an-hour podcast if you could only talk shit about one side of the aisle.
But I think that's so much of my frustration is like, be honest with yourselves. Be honest with yourselves. You know, when you say why you like Trump, like, just be honest. It's because I don't like the thing. He's a racist, but as a white person, I'm making a shit ton of money from him, right? That's what you got to say. You fucking admit it. Admit it.
I like Trump because I have nothing else going on in my life, and it is entertaining to me in a way that the Never Ending Becoming podcast and all of Netflix's offerings cannot match.
Cannot match. I live in a rural part of flyover America, and I've never met another person of color in my entire life. I love my guns and I love my freedom. And fuck Black Lives Matter.
You're pretty good at the Southern. I like that. I say long term, it'd be easy for me if I was to, in some way use his voice as well, which I think would be interesting. Would you do an entire episode of this here exact podcast using different types of Southern accents, or would you think that would be too grating to the listener or any sort of audio viewer in some way that may be hearing the inflections and words and choices coming out of my mouth? Is that possible? Could you do a whole podcast?
You know,
no, from here on out, I mean, no, we don't have to do that.
Like, I can really try. I mean, I don't know how much. See, at a certain point, now I'm sounding like Foghorn Leghorn.
It was just turning to Foghorn Leghorn. I was just thinking that. You have to really watch your ass.
Yeah, you got to watch your ass when you're doing that. I think, I don't know if I could do it. There would be some breaks in there. Okay. I could go from, like, accent to accent. You know what I mean? We could just, like,
Lindsey
Graham.
Do that. Could you do Lindsey Graham the entire time? Or?
I will do a high Lindsey Graham all day. He is just a little Southern Belle. You know,
yeah. I'll learn Mitch McConnell, and then we'll meet in the middle here.
Yeah, you know, honestly, as a Kentuckian,
the thing you need to know about Trump is that I need to work on that.
The radical left in America.
We'll get there.
Fuck Mitch McConnell. Oh God, I hate that I hate. We could
just put him on a soundboard too. You know, we'll get some GTA sounds, some San Andreas.
Somebody like hitting a prostitute with a bat, right? The most common sound you hear in those games.
I was thinking like when you carjack someone, you know, get out of here.
Get out of here. Hey man, what's up? And you just throw him. Oh, Jesus, dude. Yeah, you know, it's not like I do want to talk politics the whole time, but I feel like it's,
we're going to record a few more times until the election. I just want to like track how we're feeling leading up until then. I hate to say that I think Trump's going to win, but
I think you're not wrong.
I think his, Biden's lead has already slipped a little since the convention. He still has a lead, but like, oh Lord,
the lead has slipped. Trump is a fishy motherfucker. He's a projector, so everything he says the other side's doing, he's doing. So he's obviously fucking with mail-in voting, right? He's already asked.
The power is taken.
Yeah.
Power is assumed. It's not given away. You have to assume power, and we're gonna need Biden to put up some, sick-ass debate performances, despite how good his cameo in Fortnite may be. His
I'm wondering,
theoretical cameo in Fortnite.
People are saying that might not even debate. They're wondering if they're gonna debate or not. Because both sides have like certain qualifications, that they want certain things, right? Like
that is so fucking crazy.
And
and by the way, what would be probably one of the most downloaded podcasts of all time, the presidential debates. It's really just a podcast. Let's be honest. It's just two people going at it. If with all our love and interest in listening to two people yammer back and forth, if we can't get the fucking president and the person who's running for president to sit down and yammer into a couple sure SM7Bs. To get stuff on the record.
But see, again, it's not going to be. Talking. It's not a conversation. It's a debate, right? So it's sound bites. It's this. It's that, right? So you got to think, who benefits? Like each side's got to, if they benefit from a debate. Does Trump really want to go up and Biden just hammers them on all the lies? Does Biden want to go up and maybe get bullied and name called by Trump? You know what I mean? Again, both sides are pretty in their respective. You know what I mean? Like their zones. I don't know how much you need to do debate. Because people are either made up their minds, I feel like. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I guess that there's a lot of polling that there's a huge undecided section of the populace still, which makes sense. But
it's amazing.
How do you not know already?
I think a lot of people do know. They say they don't know,
or they don't want to admit that it's going to be for Trump again.
Can I hear one idea for like a creative way that you could get polling information from the American electorate? Just one instance.
Like as far as like a medium, like like cell phones or like
yeah, they call
Instagram.
People.
Yeah, they
talk
call people.
To people. That's a terrible way.
Texting, right? You get a quick funny text. I don't know. Polling is so fucking weird. I always think that polling is like wrong, right? We saw it so messed up in 2016 where everyone was like Hillary, and it just wasn't, right?
Anything that requires self-reported information is going to be sketchy. That's why I'm thinking maybe it takes your decisions in a video game. Let's bring it back to the video game thing.
Where you don't even realize you're being polled. You're just playing a game, and it makes you choose, right? You got some timed button presses where it's a timer goes, so you have to make a quick choice. So you just choose, right? And then boom, you've chosen. And you're like, wait, was that the right choice? Well, that was the choice I made in the moment for right there, and I have to stick with it.
I remember when I was in psychology classes, they did experiments where they wanted to see what kind of face was more electable. If the person was like smiling or frowning or had like a wide face or whatever it is, different facial features. And they would like flash faces, and you just had to like do, up or down. You had to do like just instant reactions to how you felt, but they would fucking throw just a barrage of them at you. So you had no ability to continually answer from your conscious mind. Like you had to just take almost like a gut level reaction on it. And then they looked at that data to see, that this type of face is more electable, right? Like,
and I'm sure there was a moment in there where you were doing it to some people and you're like, oh God, you feel bad, but you're just doing it fast. Oh, that's an ugly motherfucker. And you're just, you don't mean to think negatively. It's just your brain's just doing it for you,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's kind of fucked up because a lot of the art that's been done, a lot of the memes are Trump. They're about Trump, and
that's a lot of reason why he won 2016.
You have to look at why he won 2016, just because he was constantly on TV, all the free coverage. Yeah. And people know, even liberals are memeing him. Yeah. They're ripping on his ass. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Not to the same degree, though. Like you said, own the libs, man. There's something about crushing liberals and, like, making this, like, snowflake people. You know what I mean? I feel like there's
I almost feel like I want to see more shit-talking material about Biden. I want liberals to make more, at least for name recognition. Yeah. You know, just put his name out there more often. Because even when people shit talk against someone, there's going to be people that stand up for him. They're like, oh, this is stupid shit talk. This is negative. This is whatever. You know, a lot of times when you talk negatively about someone else, it does more to publicize them than it does to prove whatever point you're trying to make. You know, that simple saying the name Biden, Biden. When they then see it on the mail-in voting or at the polling place, you're more likely to put Biden just from sheer fucking repetition.
Truly, though, I mean, the man's been around for how long? I mean, how much more name recognition do you get being the vice president for the most popular president we've ever had?
Yeah, but I mean, he ran for president in the 80s, right? And he's been around a long time. But I'm talking like memes. You know, I want him photoshopped on Kevin's body in the office in that chili
spilling
scene.
Chili.
Dude, no, I'm serious. Like, I want that shit. Even if
like him half asleep spilling chili.
I want the conversation to be about Biden. Yeah. Because to me, if the conversation stays about Trump's going to win.
We're gonna lose. Yeah.
Because you're like, everyone just on some fucked up level is going to be like, this story's about this guy, right? Like, we're all about this guy.
Somebody I love watched the Republican National Convention, and they got the wrong message out of it. And I was like, and was just like, yeah, he's going to win. He's just going to win. That's just the end of it. He's just going to win. And I was like, what? Like, the way they saw it, it just, they like you said, though, the conversation, the way they framed the conversation, it made it seem like they were, protectors, victorious, like, you know what I mean? They framed it so well that, people just leaned into it. Like you said, like the conversation isn't about Biden. It's about, like, Trump being law and order and this protector, right? He's a protector because, even though there's all this stuff's happening under his watch, he's the only one who can protect us from these boogeymen. Because, Biden won't go after the protesters because he loves the protesters, right?
Dude, I saw the most fucked up political commercial I think I've ever seen in my life up in Wisconsin. Which, by the way, it's been fucking eye-opening to spend some time in Wisconsin this summer because when I was in Chicago early last time we were podcasting, I was seeing... you're inundated with left-leaning shit. And also, like, I was seeing commercials for a bunch of Toyotas on TV, whatever. And then I watched a little actual television up in northern Wisconsin. No Toyota commercials, only Ford commercials. Yeah. And then a bunch of, like, negative Biden commercials, one of which being this weird scenario where it's like, glass is breaking, alarms are sounding. And it's like a scared mother and child, like, calling 911. And it's like an automated voice being like, thank you for calling 911. Due to increased criminal activity in the area, your wait time is 17 minutes. And they were drawing a direct line between defunding the police and how you had to wait 17 minutes on the phone with 911. Yep. And then, of course, like, glass is breaking in the background, and you can hear, like, the child, like, growing, like, concern, like, oh, Mama.
That's what I talked about was the suburbs. They're going to burn the suburbs down.
And it's fucking nuts. And at the end of the commercial, after, like, that's, there's a 17-minute wait. It's like, thank you. Like, it's like this robotic, like, thank you for calling. Keep waiting. Unbelievable.
That's socialism, right?
Unbelievable. But just pure fear-mongering. Pure fear-mongering.
But people buy into it, and that's the thing. Like you said, we need to change the conversation so it's less about the fear. And again, this is why Trump wants protests, why he doesn't want to tamp down the flames. He wants it more inflamed because it just draws more divisions, more strife that he can work with, right?
And in times of chaos, I mean, people vote for the incumbent.
Exactly.
Just straight up.
Exactly.
I remember hearing that about Bush during the Iraq War, which is, something you can devise of your own free will, like of your own making. I know people were talking about that with Trump specifically from the beginning. Like, he's just going to come up with some sort of chaotic thing. He's going to, like, enter a war with North Korea. Yeah. So you kind of have to back his ass. It's like when your dickheaded friend starts a bar fight.
China. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you're like, I mean, this guy's being a dick right now, but, like, I'm his bro. So, like, it just, like, we all look down like, fuck, I got red, white, and blue on. I'm American.
This is my homie. What am I going to do, right? I think it's going to be China if it's anybody. I think he's going to try a soft war with China.
There's definitely some Cold War China shit going on right now. But Corona, obviously, has got to be the biggest frustrating conflict type thing that he is either going to gain from. Like, we're going to stay with him in a time of conflict, or it could totally bite him in the ass.
Again, we need to change the conversation because he's fucked up. Almost 200,000 people are dead from corona. Like, those are 200,
possibly more, right?
Possibly
what are
more.
the numbers now? Like 180 to 250?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it could be potentially thousands. It's like polling, plus or minus like 4,000, 5,000 people, right? Because you don't know how many were false positives and you don't know how many were false negatives, right? And we're so focused on the numbers right now that and then again, alternative facts, you take these numbers and you skew these numbers, and then you have them messing with the CDC and their reporting of numbers, so there's even more misinformation and more like, well, the numbers are all fucked up, so, you know, we can't trust anything, right? Gotta muddy the waters. They're constantly muddying the waters so no facts could come out, right?
It's pretty wacky. CDC, bro, specifically. That one has been
CDC,
active, weird political player lately.
Yeah. I mean, he's politicized every non-political institution. CDC should be completely unbiased, unpolitical, right? We're a medical-based facility. It should be facts, right? Centers for Disease Control, right?
No, but they said all of a sudden we don't recommend that you get a coronavirus test, even though you've been around someone with coronavirus, if you're asymptomatic. And then all epidemiologists, whatnot, are like, "Oh, you crazy? Like, it's, you know, we need to use testing." It's like and of course, it's similar to before with the masks, where they're like trying to stop the testing from running out.
Yep.
Like, they want the test to be reserved for sick people, which is understandable.
But
you can't message it that way. Like, you have to let people make those decisions that way as adults.
How many people do you know that are just like, Corona's over? You know, like, they just don't care anymore. The Corona fatigue, it's over. Some people are just like, it's it. I'm over. I'm going out. I don't care.
I mean, my circles, I don't know a lot. You know, I talked to neighbors in Wisconsin. I'll tell you, we had a whole different mindset, and we were kind of texting about that. You know,
New York, yes, people are very different. There was a couple parties, and it's nice seeing everybody, but it's like I was a little upset that it wasn't like, hey Matt, Rand, you know, you guys were gonna have people over. You know, it's like, I know right now it's a little dicey. You know, like you know, I know what their bubbles are like, but you know, like, let's just, you know, let's get together. You know, like, okay, I guess. You know, I didn't really have a choice in the matter, right? I didn't really have a choice in the matter, you know.
Waving to people like a motherfucker.
Everyone's staring at me this time. I've never been stared at so much in an episode.
Did they wave at you?
Yeah, several of them were waving. This cute girl walked by and she kept eyeing me and she gave me a little wave. So I was like, all right, hey, what's up? All right, you know.
This is the third wave we've had so far.
I have to acknowledge my people.
It is a hot dog walking time right now. So.
But you know, it's just, you know, and then, you know, you sat down and there's people that I really genuinely like as people. And then it's like, then you start talking politics.
I think they prefer to be called his folk.
My folk.
Trump's folk.
Yeah, you talk to some people that you respect and you like and you love and you care about, and then they start saying stuff, and you're just like, what? And you're just like, you're kind of taken aback, and I don't know what I'm supposed to say. You know,
do you feel like you handled some of those situations with like an appropriate amount of class? Because obviously you don't want to turn someone off. I mean, you're old enough to know you can't just be a dickhead and assume that they'll change their fucking mind, right? Like, you kind of need to incept a little bit harder than that.
Exactly. If you want to win, you can't. The game isn't about making somebody come all the way left. The game is about bringing you guys together, right? So when I talk to conservatives, you know, I'm not like a fucking asshole about it, you know, because it's not like I'm like, there's not like things that I'm not okay with. You know what I mean? Like, I can see both sides, right? I can see both sides. I think I like to play in the middle when I talk to people. When I talk to like politics with people, I play the middle. I don't play the left. I play let's bring it together, because the chances are we have more that we agree upon than the things that we disagree upon.
You should do this thing where you like play characters. Like, when you're being a conservative, you should be called Matt, and when you're being a liberal, you should be Matthew.
Mateo.
some sort of moniker.
But it's like, you know, and I just read too much to these people. They want to do with what they feel, and that's nice and that's all good.
What's up with the Republican strain in New York? Is it like a response to the city versus rural area feeling? Like, it's bullshit. New York City gets so much attention, and like all the fucking government services are sucked up by the boroughs. Is it like a resentment thing?
It is.
A lot of Illinois is right outside of Chicago.
Yes, it's similar to that.
You can't be ignorant of that, and that's a kind of a land density thing, at least to some degree.
Right. The big major city, you know, you think, and then, you know, you hear in the news about the big major city and the crime in the big major city, right? So they all look like the big evil devil. I think in New York, though, that is a lot of it, especially where they're like an hour and a half, like, outside of the big city. So when
helicopter, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
No.
When the corona hit. A lot of the city people moved out to their houses in the wilderness in the country, so then the Sidiots, as they call them, were like infiltrating, and they
what do they call them?
Sidiots, like idiots plus city, Sidiots, right? I think there's that, Andrew Cuomo isn't super popular in the rural areas. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not. But when you have, like, your voter base is all, like, one giant chunk of the city, you know what I mean? And, like, that's it. You don't need the rest, right? So sometimes they might feel like they're slighted or all that stuff. But to be honest with you,
please,
they were telling me that the reason why they love Trump is because Trump loves Americans and that Trump has their best interests at heart. And that how can you tell them that Trump doesn't have their best interests at heart? They were so
emotional.
They were,
so
and the one woman was just like, when her husband was talking about it, was just like, and I'm just like, but like, does he really? Because and then XYZ of all the litany of reasons that he doesn't care about anybody, right?
Right.
He cares about who will vote for him and who gives him money. Like,
it's amazing that people think. I guess it's just about topic. It's just about the examples you use. Obviously, it's highly racial for a lot of people. When they're saying he's looking out for my best interests.
That was the unspoken thing with that, right? That's the unspoken thing.
That's the thing, right? I mean,
right. That's it.
The idea of like what is an American, right? Like
the fear mongering, right? It's the fear mongering. Did you hear what Doc Rivers said? Doc Rivers, the basketball coach on the Clippers.
I'm familiar with him. No, I didn't.
He had a great thing.
It is now known, without a shadow of a doubt, that 1 hour of the never-ending becoming podcast is complete. This is the Biden podcast.
Wow. Yeah, this is no longer. This is the Biden
Harris 2020.
It's funny. It's been an hour. It's been crazy.
Despite the whole time that I'm saying like Trump's gonna win, it's terrible. I'm like, Trump's gonna get this.
You gotta, again, both sides, right? We gotta admit that he's got a shot. Otherwise, we're fucking delusional that he doesn't have a shot.
You gotta go to the Trump Rockstar rally.
Right.
You gotta steal the best ideas. Yeah.
Right.
What we were saying, Biden and Trump. We don't even have to go there. We don't have to go there. We're talking about the racial elements.
Yeah, right. It's obvious, right, that there's Doc Rivers was speaking, and he's like, he doesn't understand why, I don't even want to paraphrase it, but it was beautiful, and he got emotional, and he's basically saying, like, I don't understand why we love them so much when they hate us so much, and we love America when America hates us. He's like, why is it that they're afraid when we're the ones getting gunned down in the streets?
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
Which is like, that's the thing, right? Like, why are you, what are you as a white person afraid about in this country? When, if I got pulled over, I'm okay. Like, and then we saw an example of, Jacob Blake getting gunned down in the back, whereas in like 2 or 3 days later, you saw the white guy do the exact same fucking thing, get in his car, and he left. The cops didn't do nothing to that guy, which is a great, perfect example of it, right? The problem isn't that it's new. It's not new. It's that we're recording it, and we're seeing it now every day. Every day there's new shit, right? It's not that it's, and that's the thing, like, you can't deny it anymore. Just because it makes you feel uncomfortable as a white person, you can't deny the shit. And that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Because as a white person, you feel bad and you feel guilty because you've been a part of the system. And it's true, right? You are. That's the deal, right? Everyone is a fucking racist. I'm going to go ahead and say it. There's a part of everybody that's a racist.
Right.
And it's not necessarily your fault. It's part of your animal brain, right? It's not your fault. But that's the way it is. If you don't admit that in some way, you're never going to get better.
I'm glad you brought up the Kenosha example, because we were talking about, me driving through Purple, Wisconsin this whole time, and I passed Kenosha, and I've been passing Kenosha multiple times, going like there and back.
It's wild.
I did find it striking, that this ended up
so close
happening
to us.
in Kenosha. Yeah,
so close to us.
And the fucking kid was from Illinois. Speaking of,
right.
Although I guess that should make us reflect on, homegrown bullshit. We're talking about
domestic terrorists. That's what the FBI said is the most thing that we have to worry about. Isn't fucking Islamic terrorists. It's homegrown white fucking people. What, before September 11th, what was the worst terrorist attack in America? Fucking the Oklahoma City bombing, done by a fucking white guy. It's not black guys. It's not fucking brown guys. It's fucking white guys.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that did the shooting? Fucking white guy.
The Trump mail bomber was who was he? He was named Caesar or something, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't even white though. I just bring that up just because it's not even like ideologically one thing or the other. And that whole thing is like extremely confusing. How people are viewed and how they selectively use terrorism laws for some people and then not other elements.
And some people are entrapped.
Scary shit. We talked about the Patriot Act earlier and being able to play by different rules based on if they consider something to be terrorism.
How about in what they had with this kid that they basically entrapped into making a bomb? He was the FBI helped radicalize him, gave him the tools, and then gave him the bomb, and then he planted the bomb, right? And so the FBI is like, look what you did, even though they step by step guided him along in the process, right? What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Instead of being okay, this is an at-risk kid, let's get him some help, let's figure it out, let's figure out why he wants to be radicalized. What's his problem? Oh, he's alone. Oh, he doesn't have the right resources. Oh, he has no friends here, he feels alienated. Okay, let's try to fix these problems. Oh, look, we'll save people. It's just we have no compassion in this country. That's a big thing too. Just dollars and fucking cents. Which is why we have the president that we do, because what does he care about? Dollars and fucking cents. Not really well. He's not good at it. That's just what he cares about.
I'm trying to think dollars and cents in that he collects dollars and then treats everyone like fucking cents.
Pennies. Pennies,
they're penny pawns that he can move around. Well, Matt, we just slammed through an hour here. I mean, we had that whole litany of things, but we hit video games, we hit
we did a couple, yeah. It was mostly politics, though. And I did a lot of talking directly to you, the audience, and I'm sorry about that. I don't mean you personally, unless it's you, and then you know who I'm talking about. But
No, you got to hit people in that lizard brain of theirs. You gotta lock eyes.
Look at me. I'm here. I'm a human, right? That's why Instagram. I don't like hiding behind privacy on Instagram. When I make a comment, I want you to look and see me because I'm a real fucking person, right? I'm not like some bot. I'm not gonna hide behind private. I'm private. No, fuck that. I said it. I don't believe in your fucking conspiracy bullshit. The Earth is round, you dumb motherfucker.
Well, that's debatable. I mean,
wow. This is a neighborhood. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, thank God we've been waving at people, keeping the peace. So otherwise,
they're swearing, but
angry.
They're certainly friendly.
Yeah, that gentleman, I tell you, he looks angry, but I can tell ideologically he's on the right track. There's no doubt about it.
He's gesticulating very aggressively towards the camera.
No, but Matt, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Let's keep it rolling.
34.
34 in the tank.
34 in the tank, and then we'll have to see how our predictions play out, long term.
I don't know.
Okay,
here's one more prediction. Silly prediction. Yeah. Is Biden going to last the 4 years when he wins?
No. And that's specifically because I'm writing that into a script.
You need it to happen?
No, specifically, I'm writing that universal basic income outcome thing.
Yeah.
Where, I have to have it so that Biden becomes president, but then I'm going to shift someone else to president based on chain of command. But
Got you.
For my own theoretical.
Shift it around, huh? Are you gonna play a little game? What is it? The Last Survivor? All of the branch of government except for the Secretary of Education has succumbed to this horrible event.
I'm gonna have them all at a
designated survivor. That's what it was called.
An event that's being streamed on TikTok when somehow Chinese terrorism takes it over. I'm gonna bring the terrorism thing in. I'm gonna bring the Cold War China thing in. I'm just gonna fucking mash it all up.
The red wave from the West.
Gonna hit every tag on the internet in 2021 if at all possible.
Just gotta do. But don't forget the messaging about Biden. Biden.
Biden-Harris 2020. Thanks for joining us. Bye.